Hey there, if you wanna make some awesome looking website with your plain HTML and CSS, but you always use FlexBox but don't know how to use Grid instead of FlexBox, so don't worry, I am here to show you how you can use Grid instead of FlexBox in your daily life projects to make your website awesome and looking cool. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into the coding part. So here you can see in my laptop screen, the screen has been separated into two different sections. One is in the VS Code and another is the HTML page that is opened in the browser. Now I have here applied 4 different type of divs inside the body tag and applied 4 different type of class item 1, item 2, 3 and 4 into their particular divs along with a common class item. Now I have applied some CSS over it. On the item section you can see that in the style.css all the CSS has been applied over there for the item section, and in order to select a particular div we have to use this item 1, item 2, item 3 and 4 respectively to use that particular div. This looks great. Now if we want to apply it over it, first we have to understand these 4 divs has been implemented into the body tag. So in order to apply grid we have to use display equals to grid inside the body. What will happen? Nothing will happen, because display equals to grid, this text only allows us to use some grid properties over it. It doesn't mean that all the property has been applied. Okay, to do that first we have to use grid template columns. This will allow us to select the particular size, that is particular width of the particular column or the div. If you don't select it, all the columns of that all the divs will be selected manually that you have created. You can see that if I write here 120 pixel, what will happen? There will be one single row which contains 120 pixel width. Now if I write this 120 pixel twice, what will happen? The 4 divs will be separated into the 2 different type of column, and if I write this thing 3 times, what will happen? The first 3 divs will be separated by 3 columns and the rest of the 4 div has been set bottom of the first div. Why this happened? Because you can see that this is the first section, this is the second and the third. Sorry, this is the first, second and third. The fourth has not been set yet. If I write 120 pixel again, what will happen? The fourth one will be set to side of the third. That means how many number of times I have written here is 120 pixel. In that number of times the number of column will be set. I have written this 120 pixel 4 times, that's why the column here is 4. If I write this twice, the 4 divs will be set into 2 different type of column, that is twice. If I want to apply it in a more appropriate manner, we can write simply repeat 2, 120 pixel. That means the 4 divs will be set to 2 different type of columns and the width of that particular column will be set to 150 pixel. If I write 3 here, the same thing will happen. It is just giving us the more proficient code. Now move to the next one, that is grid template rows. In that grid template rows, if I apply 2, 120 pixel, you can see that if I increment these numbers, the length of the particular div will be increased, that is 420. If I apply auto instead of a particular pixel, what will happen? If I increment this text, instead of first if I write 23, what will happen? The existing space will be occupied by this thing, by this long text, and the other div that has not been yet covered yet will be set to that first div. Okay, now what is happening? That it's not checking whether the text has been created, whether the text has been occupied the whole space or not. If the first div has occupied the amount of spaces, in that amount of spaces will be given to the 2 and third number of div, and the rest of the 4 div has no property over there because it's not aligned in the same row. Okay, now The next thing is that if I want to apply some gaps, what will we do? Just let me remove this text first. Fine. Now let me change this to 2. Now if we want to apply some of the spaces, what will happen? We will use row gap, that is, it will make a gap between two different divs in a row manner. If I wanna give column gap, we can simply write this and save it. You can see that the space between two different columns has been created. Okay, now the last property is that if we want to select only one particular div, what will we do? We will select this particular class that we have created for that particular div. We will select first item 1 to showcase and demonstrate things. Now if we write grid column start, what will happen? If we write 1 and if I write n equals to 3, you can see that the first div has occupied from first to second position div. If I write 3, that means this item 1 will occupy the position from 1 to 2. 3 means the position. It will only move from 1 to 2. That means first div is occupying the space from first to second. This 3 signifies this. This 3 doesn't mean that it will cover up the space from first to third. It will cover up the space from first to second. 3 is only the position. It will allow the space from 1 to 3 minus 1, that is 2. Okay, this 3 signifies that idea. If I write 2 instead of 3, nothing will happen because 2 means 2 minus 1, that is 1. How can it be occupied more than one space? If I write 2, because if I write 2, that means this 2 minus 1, that is 1. If the first div is taking the space from 1 to 1, nothing will change. If I write 3 instead of 2, then the output will be 2. That means if I write here 3, that means it automatically indicating that first div will occupy from the position first to second. You can see the result here. If I write 4 instead of 3, you can see that all the items that has been covered from first to 4 has been selected for that first div. First div has occupied the all remaining spaces from first to third. If I apply 5th instead of 4, what will happen? The first div will occupy from first to 4th spaces, because if I write 5, that means we are automatically indicating 4 minus 1, that 5 minus 1, that is 4. Okay, hope you have understood it. Now if we want to write it in a shortened property, we can simply use column, not column, grid column, and if I write 1 by 3, that means the same thing we have written here. The 1 indicating the grid column start and 3 indicating the grid column end. And if I don't want to write 3, some of the cases it might be confusing. To remove that confusion, we can use span 2. The span 2 means span, this 3 means span 2. The span 2 and 3, we can use any of these things. Okay, we can use 1 by 3 or we can use span 2. The span indicating that we have to set from 1 to 2. The second div, from 1 to second div, don't wanna select the particular position. Okay, we will select the div number. If we want to make some of the cool features, that is if I want to make some nav bar or the header bar of that any web page, how can I do that? You can simply use 4 instead of 3, and automatically we can see that the responsive nav bar has been created. Okay, if I set auto instead of 120 pixel, the rest of the size will be occupied by this. Then the size of the text actually indicating the size, the width of that particular div. Okay, if I write more complex text, that is first blah blah blah, what will happen? The first div will occupy the more space, and the remaining div will be taking the remaining space that has been allocated for that particular div. So actually means the same. If you have watched this video and understood till yet, don't forget to like, share and subscribe this channel. I'll meet with you in a next video. Till then, bye.